Hello, everybody, and welcome into Around the Bags. It's edition 6, and it is Saturday, April the 18th, and we've gotten into the season. We're starting to get, more and more into this season. I'm Mitch Glessner alongside Thomas Lemanske. We've got some good MLB news as well as some Royals news, and most of the Royals news has been very negative, which is very unfortunate. But as always, we're going to kick things off. We're going to go around the bags with our MLB talk first. And our first topic of discussion for today, Thomas, is Kris Bryant, the myth, the legend for the Cubs, as he just tore up the minor leagues last year, was the best minor league player. He had 43 dingers in the minors last year. Kris got brought up yesterday as the Cubs waited on him to bring him up in order to extend the length of them being able to keep him as a player. And he struggled his first day, Thomas. He
did.
Really faced, that was really his big league moment. Welcome to the big leagues. He had to face James Shields.
Ooh.
And Bryant just looked very silly, Thomas.
Yeah, he went 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts and a ground out, I believe. But, it's the start of this guy's young career. This guy's going to be good. He's the number 1 overall prospect by Keith Law. I think the number 2 overall prospect by MLB.com. But, this guy is a big power hitter. We discussed earlier in the season about him, getting sent down, but he's going to play third base now. We thought he might play the outfield, but he's going to they're going to stick him at third base. But, yeah, he's got some big power numbers, and I'm excited to see what this kid can do.
Yeah, and what was hilarious about it is that, people keep talking about Kris for his bat and his power, and,
Right.
This is a guy that's going to hit the ball at the ballpark. And I thought it was very ironic and pretty funny in his major league debut that it was actually his glove that he showed off.
Yeah.
He had a diving play, made a couple good starts to double plays for the Cubs. I thought that was hilarious and very ironic. And today in his second game, he looked more like the Kris Bryant that we were expecting. You could tell yesterday was more of just getting the jitters out, all the butterflies of getting up to the major leagues. Today, complete 180-degree turnaround. He had 5 plate appearances. He walked 3 times, had a base hit, and then flew out. So it looked like he was seeing the ball a lot better today. I think he got all those jitters out yesterday.
Yeah, the first game's always, you're nervous. First time playing the MLB, he was pretty excited. But, he made up for it with his glove. There's more to baseball than just hitting. But, yeah, like I said, I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think every baseball fan is very excited. He's been one of the most hyped players in a while. We'll see if he can.
A long while.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see if he can't bring the Cubs to another playoff run. That would be just very fun to watch, as the Cubs have been very unsuccessful, as we all know, for the last, it seems like forever, actually.
Yeah.
So we'll move on from one amazing prospect to one amazing former prospect who is now just probably the best player in the league, in Mike Trout. And Mike Trout has set the record for the youngest player to reach 100 home runs and 100 stolen bases, Thomas.
Yeah, this guy, he's a stud. He won MVP last year. He led the league in runs scored. He led the league in RBIs. He had the least amount of strikeouts. This guy is just a complete stud. But, that record, man, that's saying a lot. 100 home runs and 100 stolen bases. This guy is only 23 years old. So, he's still got a ways to go. But, yeah, it's the first of many for him.
Yeah, and he did it in such a very typical Mike Trout fashion, in hitting 2 home runs to get to his 100th, of course. And he barely edges out on the list. He's in some good company to reach 100 home runs, 100 stolen bases. He edges out A-Rod and Andrew Jones, who, of course, were very good players. And A-Rod is tearing it up right now, still for the Yankees. So Mike Trout is in some very rare company, and I'm really not surprised, as he is just a phenomenal talent. He's got all the tools. He can do everything on the baseball diamond. He's just a phenomenal athlete.
He's batting 444 right now, and with an OPS of 1.25. So, he's picking up right where he left off from last year. But yeah, This guy's a complete stud. It's first made to come. I mean, I think he's going to win another MVP this year.
I think we both in our prediction show picked him, and for very good reasons, and he can do everything. So let's now talk. We talked a little bit there about Chris Bryant to open up the show, and talking about Trout here. Let's talk about them together here, Thomas, in that they're both 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Could this be another friendly rivalry throughout their career, kind of like almost like Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire had?
I mean, I sure hope so. You know, when Sosa and McGwire played against each other, those games were so hyped. A lot of people tuned in to watch that. And, you know, if Trout and Bryant, if they start that friendly rivalry again, oh, man, I mean, that's just good for baseball, good for the ratings. And those two guys, you know, they were each number one overall prospects the past 2-3 years. So, yeah, I think it could definitely happen. I'd love to see it. What about you?
Yeah, I think it definitely can happen. They both, you know, do so many things on the ball field that attracts viewers. You know, baseball has been kind of in that state where people, you know, are trying, where the commissioner is trying to get more fans to watch and you know, implementing the pace of play, doing stuff like that. And now with Chris Bryant, though, these newer players I think will attract a lot of young fans as well. And Bryant and Trout going back and forth, you know, that'll just be something to watch. They both hit for power. You know, I haven't seen Chris Bryant run a lot, but I think, you know, he's certainly not a slow player.
Yeah.
He's about average defensively. I think he'll only get better defensively. But I think, you know, every time if they meet in interleague play, that's going to attract just a huge crowd and just a huge following, I think, throughout their whole careers. And what else is also great and fun to watch with them is that they're so humble and quiet about themselves. You know, they don't like to talk about themselves a lot, and they're very respectful of the game. They're very respectful of, you know, their teammates, their opponents, and they say all the right things to the media. So I think baseball's in a good state with Chris Bryant and Mike Trout, you know, possibly becoming a friendly rivalry there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good for baseball. You know, this past I'd say decade, baseball is kind of decreasing in popularity. You know, football is, I think, the most popular sport in the United States, and now with the emergence of soccer becoming more popular, you know, having this rivalry, Trout and Bryant, it's going to be really good for baseball.
Absolutely, and we're going to stick with the young players here, and we're going to chat here a little bit about, are these young players today under way too much pressure, and how can they live up to the hype? We see Chris Bryant going 0 for 4 on his first day, and just all the hype surrounding Chris Bryant, and the Cubs fans almost expect him to just carry the Cubbies single-handedly to the playoffs. I don't know if that's very much, you know, I don't think that's very fair, really, to put all that pressure on a 23-year-old. And you look at Mike Trout, and there's so much pressure on him, especially as he just signed his contract through 2020, 6 years, $145 million.
Got paid.
Are these guys just under way too much pressure, Thomas?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely think that they are. I mean, you look at Trout when he came up, that was huge too, you know, especially him being in the LA market. And then now Chris Bryant, he's in the Chicago market. Those are two big market teams and with a lot of fans. So, yeah, I mean, they are hyped, no doubt about it. They're way too overhyped. But, you know, I was listening or watching ESPN, and they were talking about the Cubs, and they were at the Cubs covering the game. But fans showed up like 2 hours before the game. Yeah. It's just to watch Chris Bryant take batting practice. So, yeah, I mean, they fans expect too much of these guys. You know, I don't think they get how hard it is to go from AAA, you know, to the majors. I mean, it's the best of the best. So, yeah, they're definitely overhyped.
Right. You bring up a very good point there, and the average fan just has no idea how big of a leap it is from college to the big to pro ball, and then working your way up through pro ball. Each step is just incredibly different from the former step, and the big leagues obviously is, you know, the pinnacle of just talent and the best players in the world. And when you're 23 years old, that's tough to look at in the big picture and you know, say, hey, I need to go out here and help my team win a division and win a World Series. It's unbelievable how much pressure they are under.
Yeah, I mean the Cubs. The Cubs are a historic team. I mean they've been real good in the past, but I mean there's so many players that don't pan out in the MLB. I mean the amount of talent, the amount of players that are in the MLB. I mean it's hard to make it to the big leagues, make it to the show. But I mean look at Luke Kochaber. He was the number 1 overall pick by the Royals. And about 5, 6, 7 years ago. And what is he now? He was supposed to be a dominant starting pitcher for us, but he hasn't been. I mean, his biggest role for us has been one of the lead guys in the bullpen. Not what we really wanted out of him, but we're making the most out of it. So I mean, a lot of guys don't pan out in the MLB. So I'm glad Chris Bryant and Mike Trout definitely have.
And you brought up a good point there, and a Royals player in Luke Kochaber. All the hype around Eric Hosmer and Moustakas as well.
Big.
It was huge, astronomical.
Mike Moustakas got a lot of guff for not panning out too. I mean, the first, his rookie year and last year, he didn't do that well, and he really emerged in the playoffs last year. But yeah, like you're saying, it's crazy how much hype is around these guys.
Alrighty, and we're gonna flip the switch. Got some good talk about the younger guys in the league and guys that we'll certainly be watching for years to come and see their success pan out. We're going to flip the switch, though, now into our division, the AL Central, and the Detroit Tigers. Justin Verlander is still not healthy, Thomas, yet the Tigers continue to be just absolutely dominant. Looking at their starting pitching, even without Verlander, David Price has just shoved it so far. He has a .4 ERA. Alfredo Simon, 2.03 ERA. Anibal Sanchez hasn't started off very well with a 7 ERA, but then Shane Green with no earned runs. So the Tigers' starting rotation is still picking up the slack without Verlander. That is pretty incredible, and that could be pretty scary here for the Royals, Thomas.
Yeah, if we win tonight, we'll be tied with them since they lost earlier this afternoon. But I mean, yeah, like you said, David Price has really been carrying that team. Another thing that's been carrying the team is their offense.
Absolutely.
I mean, oh my goodness. Their top 2 guys are Jose Iglesias. He's batting .457, and one of the best hitters in baseball, Miguel Cabrera. But, to be honest, they aren't needing him right now, but when he comes back, it's definitely going to help him. But, yeah, I mean, their offense has been carrying him. David Price has really stepped up. That's what they needed. But I mean, it's making for a good competition in the AL Central with the Royals. Yeah,
we'll see if the Royals can't jump ahead of the Tigers with Verlander not fully healthy, although the Tigers are very optimistic about getting him back on the field pretty quickly. So we'll see how long he stays out, but it would be nice to see the Royals get ahead while he is out. That would be great to see. We're going to talk here now a little bit about the Nationals, Thomas, as the Nationals right now just aren't really living up to all the hype that was surrounding them. Currently, they are 5-7. They are third in their division behind the Mets and Atlanta. What is going on in Washington, Thomas?
Yeah, you know what? I really don't know. They were my prediction to win the playoffs. They I don't know. I really don't know what's wrong with them. I know Steven Strasburg has really been struggling. He's 0-1 with a 6.75 ERA. Jordan Zimmerman's also struggling. He's 1-2 with a 6.14 ERA. So, I mean, Scherzer has been their best player so far, but I mean, their starting pitching has been struggling. I think that's why they've had a slow start. But I mean, that team has so much talent. I think they're going to make up the ground. I still hold strong in my prediction. They're going to win the World Series this year.
Yeah, I think they've definitely gotten off to a slow start, and I think that might just be because of all the hype that's been around them. But you look at this offense, and they have a star-studded offense. Guys in Bryce Harper and Ryan Zimmerman. Ryan Zimmerman right now is batting a .56. That's not going to cut it. He does have 2 homers. Harper does have 4 homers as well, but Harper is only batting .279, and he has 17 strikeouts already. And he was a lot of people's pick to be not just, one of the better players in the league, in the National League, but a lot of people picked him to be the best player and the MVP in the National League. So right now, the the Washington Nationals are just kind of spiraling downhill. And, it's been fun to watch, in my opinion, to watch a guy in Matt Harvey really just rejuvenate the
dominating.
Mets. Yeah, and you look at where the Mets are, and they might stay atop that division for a while here, unless Washington gets it going.
Yeah, I mean, the Mets have a potential Cy Young winner in Harvey, but I don't know. The Washington Nationals have way too much talent on their roster to be this far behind in the Mets, but I don't know. They're going to pick it up. Teams start slow sometimes, and they need to get the bats going and their whole starting pitching staff get going. But yeah, they'll still win their division.
Alrighty, so Thomas thinks that the Nationals will still come through. I think they'll come through eventually. It's just a matter of time.
It's a long season.
Exactly. They are a very talented team, and there's a lot more games to be played. We'll see how that pans out. That's about all we got for the news around the major leagues right now. We're going to get into our Royals talk after we take a short break. You're listening to Around the Bags. I'm Mitch Glessner and Thomas Lemanske. We'll be right back after this short break. Alrighty, and we're back from that quick break. Got a nice little break in there with Take Me Out to the Ball Game. We got some good news from around the league, good discussions about younger players in the MLB in our first segment. But now we're going to move towards what we usually like to talk about, Thomas, and we're going to move on to the Kansas City Royals, and we're going to start off with Greg Holland going to the 15-day DL with a right pectoral strain.
Yeah, he did this yesterday. I wasn't watching the game yesterday, but I got a notification on my phone. I was really surprised by this, but it's gonna hurt. He had a 1.44 ERA, made the All-Star game last year. I mean, he's one of our top 3 pitchers that we have on the staff. So, and I think he had 46 saves last year. I think that was two under the what the leader had, but. Yeah, I mean, the good thing about this, though, is that our bullpen is stacked. We have Wade Davis that can step into the closer role, and then we have Kelvin Herrera who can step into the setup guy. So, and those two are really, really good pitchers. So, look at the glass half full. We have a pitching staff that can make up for Greg Holland's loss. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah,
Mitchell?
it's unfortunate. You touched on it there, Greg Holland. Certainly one of the better pitchers on our staff, probably if not the best.
Yeah,
he's just got filthy stuff. He's got that filthy sinker, two-seam, whatever he throws that just falls off the table. And then on top of that, when you throw 99, it's tough to hit. He's got a good arsenal of pitches there. Yeah, it's tough to see him go down. But like you said, our bullpen is just so deep in that you can stick Wade Davis in that closer role, and I don't think it'll be any problem really. And I think it'll be a short injury for him. I think he'll bounce back after those 15 days. It doesn't seem like it's anything too serious, and I think in that time you can just put Wade in the closer role. Yeah. And then if I were Ned, I would put Kelvin in for the 7th and 8th innings, and he can be a setup man for almost 2 innings. I think that would be the best way to do it, in my opinion. I think Kelvin Herrera is a better pitcher than some of the other options we would have there late in the game. So that's my take on it. It is unfortunate though that we see him go down. We don't want to see any injuries. that was my big key for the Royals this year, is to stay injury free. And we're going to move on to some more negative news about injuries, unfortunately, and Alcides Escobar, as he left the game last night. That was April 17th. He left the game against playing the A's with a knee strain as Brett Laurie went in on a hard slide. I thought it was a very dirty play on his part, but nonetheless, we'll talk about that play itself here in a little bit. But let's focus on Alcides' injury. It is a knee strain, and to fill his spot, it'll be Christian Colon.
Yeah, I mean, this injury hurts us, I think, more than Greg Holland does. I mean, this guy is our number one hitter. He leads off for us every game. I mean, you might not know about this, but Alcides Escobar, he played in all 162 games for us last year. So, I mean, he was a vital role for our team. I mean, yeah, I definitely agree that play was dirty. He batted .285 last year. So, I mean, this guy gets on base a lot, and that's without saying his defense. His defense, he's one of the best defensive shortstops in the MLB.
Yep.
So his presence will be missed. I don't know if he's going to be put on the DL. He hasn't been put on the DL yet, but hopefully he stays off there, and hopefully he recovers in like 2 to 3 days, and we'll see him back in the lineup.
Yeah, I surely hope so, as he is definitely the leader of the infield. You mentioned his terrific defense. Him and J.J. Hardy are probably the best defensive shortstops, in my opinion, around the league. He can just do so much. He has so much range, good, strong arm. And he started off this year really well, batting above 300 at 326 with, 5 RBIs, 14 hits. He's doing a lot for the Royals so far. And we're going to miss a guy like that. But, I do have a lot of faith in Christian Colon. I think Christian Colon is a very good player, a very good player to come off the bench, and a good role type player that knows his role and can get the job done. He had a pretty good spring, and I don't remember his official spring stats, but I know he batted certainly above 250. He was around the 300 mark.
Yeah, he was around actually the 350 range.
Oh, okay,
so,
yeah.
He had a good spring training.
Yeah, so I have no problem right now in bringing Colon into that position. It is very unfortunate that you see Alcides Escobar go out the way he did on a dirty play that should never have happened.
No.
But I think that the Royals will be fine in having Christian Colon there. And Alcides will get back on the field hopefully sooner than later. And we're going to move on here into another injury yet again. It's unfortunate to talk about, but it's Alex Rios put on the 15-day disabled list for a broken finger, Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate too. He was playing. I think he got hit on purpose again. But it's unfortunate when you get hit on the hands. That's one of the worst places to get hit by a pitch. But this guy was doing really well. He was hitting .321 for us. He was doing pretty good defensively in right field. But really unfortunate. Paulo Orlando, though. I mean, he's the one who's going to step in and try to do well for us, and he has, he's batting .313 this year. He is leading the majors in triples. He's has 4 triples this year, 1 RBI. So I don't know. I have faith in Paulo Orlando. This guy is really fast. He's also a guy who can steal some bases. I don't think there's much missing when he's in right field as opposed to Alex Rios, but it's going to be interesting to see how we deal with all these injuries and how well we do.
Yeah, it stinks to lose Alex Rios there for a while, and he is a guy that is going to be relied a lot upon his power this year. That's why the Royals brought him in, is for his power, and he already has 1 home run on the year, and I'm sure that's certainly more to come throughout the season. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Paulo Orlando can come in and be a very good addition to this outfield while Alex is hurt. And the thing about Paulo Orlando is he's been in the minors since 2006, Thomas. So
yeah, he's been there for a while.
He's been there for a while, and to see that amount of big league, or excuse me, not big league, but that amount of pro ball at bats and whatnot, I think he's going to turn out pretty well. When you have that many at bats in the minor leagues, he had over 4,000 plate appearances.
That's crazy.
Just in the minor leagues. So he's certainly seen, a lot of good pitchers down there, and I think he'll do all right. Like you said, he has great speed and not too shabby, starting off his career with 3 triples. I think he'll do just fine for us.
His first Royal to ever do that. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool to have in your arsenal. But yeah, I mean, he batted, let's see what he bat last year, 301 in AAA. Yeah, he's been in the minors, like you said. He used to play for the White Sox before he came over with the Royals. But yeah, I have faith in him. I mean, he's been doing pretty well lately. So, I mean, hopefully he continues his success.
Yeah, and it'll be fun to watch him, as I haven't gotten a lot of time to see him play, really. It'll be fun to watch more of what he can do and what tools he brings to the table for the Royals going forward. So let's talk about now, Thomas, collectively, as all these guys are hurt, how successful can we be without these guys?
I'm biased, of course, but I mean, I think we can still be pretty successful. Like I said about the bullpen, Holland's one of our best relief pitchers, but we have Davis in there and Herrera that can really pick up the slack for him. You talked about Herrera going 2 innings, with the 7th and 8th, but I think we can still do pretty well. I mean, Rios is, I think, better hitter than Paulo Orlando is. Orlando definitely has better speed than he does, but I think there's more missing in right field than there is in the bullpen. What do you think?
Yeah, I would have to agree once again, but I think, like you said, we just have so much depth in our pitching staff and in our rotation in our bullpen. I don't think it'll be too big of a problem. I think, if anything, the biggest problem, it could just be a mental letdown.
Yeah.
Because these guys can still perform on the field, but, guys were looking to Alex Rios, Greg Holland. These are a couple good leaders on the team. I think in the clubhouse, from a mental standpoint, it makes them take a step back, and they're really going to have to come together as a team and play as a team without, in the absence of these guys. They can't dwell on the past and them getting hurt. They just got to move forward and keep playing some good baseball as they have been doing. And it won't be for very long. Like we said, these guys are only on the DL for 15 days, and hopefully they'll bounce right back. So the Royals don't have to wait too long about it. I just worry about the mental state, if they can keep it all there straight in their heads, that they are still a good ball club without those key guys. I think they can do just fine. Let's move on now. We already touched on it with Alcides' injury in Brett Laurie's slide, Thomas, and I thought that was probably one of the dirtiest plays in baseball that I've seen in a long time. He went in spikes high into second base, sliding spikes high, slid very late, slid about only 4 feet from the bag, when most of the time you're going to slide about 8 feet away from the bag. Slides around 4 feet away from the bag and just had no intention of even going into second base. He was just going straight for Alcides. It was very clear. I think this is a big problem, and that the MLB needs to crack down on him for that play.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I didn't see the play live, but I saw a replay, and it was bad. I mean, I cringed when I saw that. Having knee problems myself, I hate to see, any player, have that happen to him. But I mean, you hit it on the head. He went up, he slid about, like 2 yards away from the base, which is a really late slide. Then, he came in with his cleats high. That's just, you don't want that in the MLB. You talk about the unwritten rules of baseball. You got to respect, your other players. But when you go in and do that, you're not respecting your other players. But yeah, there's just no need for that. I don't know. The bench is cleared after that happened, which rightfully so should have happened.
Yeah.
Moose was right there. He's the one that threw the ball to Eski for the potential double play, which never happened, of course. But I'm surprised Moose didn't say something. Moose is a pretty fiery dude, but Salvi was the one that came over and got in Brett Laurie's face and said something to him. But that's just uncalled for, and it shouldn't happen.
Yeah, talk about the unwritten rules of baseball. And baseball is a game of respect. And
Definitely.
You always are respecting, you may not, you obviously don't want to lose to your opponent, but you're going to show them the respect that's given. And that's a big key thing in baseball that a lot of people don't understand. And that baseball, the players are just all very respectful of each other. And they all want to see each other succeed, but obviously they want to do it in a competitive nature. I thought the slide was extremely dirty. I think he should definitely be fined or suspended.
No doubt.
One or the other. Something's got to be, some sort of repercussion has to be had with that. And, we'll just see what happens. I think with the new commissioner trying to change things up and whatnot, I think hopefully he cracks down on that and makes it a statement that, you can't do things like that. And we can't get guys injured just because you want to take out a guy and play dirty on the ball field. But, going into tonight's game, I wouldn't be surprised. There wasn't a retaliation last night, but it would not surprise me in the least if Brett Laurie gets plunked at least once in this game at some point, one or another.
I mean, I think he definitely should get plunked, but who knows if that's going to happen. But I don't know. It just seems like the Royals, everybody's picking on the Royals as of late. The first series of the season against the White Sox, we got hit, I think, 4 times. I think we're leading the MLB in amount of hit batters we have at 13 or 14. But it just seems like everybody's picking on the Royals, we just made it to the World Series last year. Maybe some people don't think we should have been there. And, we're young and up and coming, and I guess people don't like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you're right. You hit it right on the nose. I think a lot of teams just don't want to see the Royals be a successful team. Everybody's so used to them being such a pushover team.
Right.
And now we're the team pushing people over. I think people are getting very frustrated, and especially seeing that we're a small market team as well. If we were a big market team, I think that
a lot different.
Players would show a lot. Yeah, it would be a different story. Players would show more respect. Guys have bigger contracts and whatnot, but we're the little guy in these fights, payroll wise. We're a small market team, and we're beating these bigger market teams. And I completely agree. I don't think these teams are taking it. They're obviously not taking it well, and they want to retaliate. But I think that's only going to help us in the long run. I think, that's going to help us play with that chip on our shoulder that we've been playing with pretty much already through the season. I wouldn't be surprised if we play with that chip on our shoulder for the whole season. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it. 2 of our guys have been hit or slid into, and now they're facing injuries right now. But it's just uncalled for. Alex Rios getting hit on the hand by a pitch. Maybe the pitcher didn't mean to hit him. You never know, but I think certainly he did mean to hit him. And then Alcides Escobar getting slid into by Brett Laurie. It's just, I hate it, man. I really do. It's uncalled for.
Very uncalled for, and we'll see how the Royals pan out with the absence of these guys. I think they'll be fine, and Thomas, you said you think they'd be fine just as well. I don't see any huge issues coming of these injuries as long as they're not nagging injuries throughout the season. I think that the Royals will be just fine, but that's going to wrap it up for today. The Royals, it is April 18th. They just kicked off their game against the Athletics for the evening game tonight. We'll see how they handle the Athletics, as the Detroit Tigers are a game ahead of us right now, and we'll see.
They're
a half game. Yeah. So we'll see if we can't get this win tonight. That would be a big momentum booster, especially with a lot of guys on the DL. That game is going on right now. We'll see what happens with that, but it's been a good show. Got a lot of talk about the young players around the league and some good Royals talk and how they're going to deal with these injuries. I'm Mitch Glessner, and Thomas Lemanske with me as always, and it's been Around the Bags edition 6. Thank you for listening in, and tune in for next week's edition.
Down for